Hi there, welcome back to the channel. This is Ben from Dorset Design Build with another Acoustasonic Fusion Design video. In this episode we are going to design the acoustic top of this guitar. So if you like these videos, please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified and give it a thumbs up. And most importantly, leave comments or questions or thoughts or whatever in the comments section below. Much appreciated. And let's get on with it. So here's where our model stands at the end of video number 2. We have a body that's made. We have a body component right here, and we have a fusion body within that. Sorry for the confusion of using body as a component name, but that's generally what the guitar part is called. So anyway, this is a solid that's got a solid back and solid sides, all one piece. And we've also carved out a ledge here for our acoustic top to sit in. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to make this acoustic top. If we take a look at our canvas real quick, so I'm going to turn the master on, turn the canvas on, turn the sketches off, and we can turn this body off. We can see that this top has binding around the outside of it. 3 pieces here, white, black, white. And then around the sound hole, we've got the same pattern, but we have a rosette of a different wood species here. And then we have this sound port, which looks like a piece of mahogany, which extends down into the body quite a bit. So we're going to model that in a future video. Right now, we're just going to go to this point right here for our sound hole on our acoustic top. So here is what I've done. I've gone ahead and done this just to show you. We are going to do a series of bodies so that we can color these with black or white plastic and have an appearance of wood here on this rosette. And on the outside, we've got these 3 pieces of plastic binding. So that's our goal for this video. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to start by making, let me turn off the master for a second here, turn on the body. I'm going to start by making a new component. So I want to make sure that the top level component is activated so that the new component is inside that. So I click on new component and I'm going to just call this top. Okay, so that's now activated. I'm not going to put the sketch inside the top. Remember, I've tried kind of an experiment in this video series to put all the sketches in this master component. So I'm going to activate that, and I'm going to turn on the sketches inside there, and let's temporarily hide our body so that we can see it and hide the canvas. So if we look straight down on this, this is our sketch. And it's got the outside of the guitar here, and then it's got these 2 lines that define the ledge. So what I want to do is I want to use this line as it goes all the way around the guitar for the outside of the top, but I want to put it in a new sketch. So first I activate the master, create a new sketch. I'm going to pick the top plane, and then I can hit P for project, and I'm going to zoom in here and double click on this line, and since everything was chained together, I can select all that in one double click. So I'm going to go ahead and project that. Let's turn off our body outline sketch, and you can see that's what we've got. We're still in the sketch, but I'm going to go ahead and name this. So I slow double click on it and name that top. So that's what we're starting with. So I'm going to finish the sketch. Now, we're going to need a couple more parameters. I want the thickness of that binding, and I also want some of the sound hole diameter information. So I'm going to go up to parameters and put a new user parameter. And the binding width I measured with a caliper, but I also went to StuMech's website to see what they sell for binding that was close to that. And they sell a .040 40 thousandths plastic binding. So that's what we're going to use here. So that's our binding width. I'll make another parameter, which is our sound hole outer diameter. And I'll show you what that is when we use it. And that's going to be 2 7/8 is what I measured off the guitar. And then the final parameter we're going to use in this video is a rosette width. So that's our little piece of alternating species that's inside, it's between two sets of bindings. And that looked like it was 1/8 of an inch. Oops, I don't want to put the inch mark there, just put in 1/8, it'll default to inches. Okay, so we've got our 3 parameters set: binding width, sound hole outer diameter, and rosette width. Okay, so let's start by doing the binding around the outside here. So we're going to go back into this top sketch. So I'm going to right click and edit sketch. And now what I want to do is I want to do a series of offset lines from this outer perimeter. So I'm going to go to my offset tool, and then let's see how much we can select by double clicking. We're only getting one piece. So I'm going to go all the way around the guitar doing these bindings, even though they don't technically go all the way around the guitar. Once we've got a neck pocket cut, we're going to come in and cut these binding pieces, but I think it's easier just to do it all the way around right now. Okay, so we've got the outer perimeter selected. I'm going to come inward, and then I'll just start to type in binding width, and then just click on it. Okay, so you can see we've got essentially one profile defined here that we can extrude for the binding. But we're going to go ahead and do that 2 more times. Now offset, you can't do an offset from an offset, so we're going to have to go back to the original outer perimeter. So I'm going to do an offset and click on all these things again. And there's another little piece down here. Okay, so now we're going to come in 2 times the binding width. So I've typed in 2 times, and then we're going to pick binding width out of the list here. Okay, and then we'll do that 1 more time. So that'll give us 3 channels for this binding width. So let's see, we'll do an offset. Try to do this quicker here. Get our line. Again, I'm working from the outer perimeter of the top. If somebody knows an easier way to select all this in an offset command, please leave a comment. Okay, so in this case, we're going to come inward again, and this time we're going to do 3 times our binding width. Oops, there it is, binding width. Okay. So I think that's all we need, because we're going to have a profile here, a profile here, and a profile here. And basically those are the 3 pieces of binding. All right. So now we're going to start doing the same thing in the sound hole, which is a little bit more complicated. But it's basically the same process. So I'm going to get a circle. We're going to start from the origin. If you remember, I'll turn the canvas on real quick here. If you remember, what we did was we oriented the guitar around the center of the sound hole. So that's where we're going to start drawing our circles. So I'll turn the canvas off. So we're still in the top sketch, and I'm going to snap to the origin, and I'm going to come out and type in sound, and here's our outer diameter. Okay, so I'll press enter. And then we're going to build our bindings up from here. So we could do this a couple of different ways. We can do circles here, or we can do the offset command. Really doesn't matter. I think I'm going to stick with offset. This is a little bit easier to select, so we want to go outward from that sound hole, and I want to type in our binding width here. And select the sound hole again, go up to offset, and this one's going to be 2 times our binding width. Oops, I should just select it out of the list, binding width. Okay, and then one more time, select this, come out, and type in 3 times our binding width. Okay, so that gives us 3 profiles here, 1, 2, 3, that we can do our binding with. Now the next thing is 1/8 of an inch of a rosette. So same thing here, I'm going to do an offset, pick our sound hole, and come outward. And now this is going to be 3 times our binding width, plus, let's see, oh, here it is right here, plus our rosette width. So I'm going to pick that from the list. So you can see that's a wider profile. So that's going to be our alternating species right there. And now we want to do 3 more of these holes. So I'm going to do an offset from the same spot. And in this case, we want to do 4 times, here it is right here, 4 times our binding width plus our rosette width. Okay, and you kind of get the idea here. We're going to select from here and then do 5 times our binding width plus our rosette width. And then our final one. Pick this, do an offset, and then this is going to be 6 times our binding width plus our rosette width. Okay, so I think we've got everything in the sketch that we need at this point. So let me finish the sketch. Now it's just a matter of how we are going to extrude. And we've got quite a few different extrudes to do. So let's take a look at that. So I want to avoid doing what would turn out to be what, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different extrudes here, which would all show up in our timeline and kind of be a pain to do. So instead, I'm going to do an extrude of the entire top, including the binding, and then we're going to come in and we're going to split the body multiple times using our sketch to generate all these different bodies. So I'm going to turn the body component back on. We've got our sketches here. I'm going to hit E for extrude, and first I want to make sure that the top component is activated, which it is, and so that's where our the extruded body is going to show up. So I'm going to go up to extrude. I'm just going to pick the major portion right here, and we want to go down, and where I want to go down to is this ledge. So I'm going to do we started from the profile plane, we're doing a one-sided extrude, but instead of a distance, I want to go to an object. And when I pick to object, you can see when I hover over things, they highlight. So I'm hovering over the ledge and clicking on that and doing an OK. So let's just take a look and see what we've got here. We've got a body, a fusion body that was created here. If I hide this, you can see. But we haven't, selected this other stuff. And I want to do that. So I want to go back into the extrude. So if I go into the timeline and right click and do an edit feature, I've got one selected profile. So now I can just add all these profiles to the existing extrude. So I'm clicking on the 3 outer binding profiles, and now I'm working around the sound hole and clicking on the rosette and these 3. So now we've got 11 profiles selected, which was the sum of all of these things that we created in the sketch. So new body is fine. Everything else was set up the way it was. So we're extruding all of these down to that ledge. So they're all going to be the same thickness. Okay. So now we just have a single body. If I get rid of the sketch, or hide the sketch, I'll just hide the master. You can see that, we have not cut any of the bindings. So if we turn the sketch back on by turning on the master, I'm going to do a split body. Okay, so the body that we want to split is the body we just made. I could pick it here in the browser, or I can just click on it. Now the splitting tool, you see in the dialog box it says splitting tool and within parentheses S. So that indicates you can pick more than one splitting tool, which is very convenient here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick these profiles in our sketch, and actually we got one of them selected. There's 2, there's 3. And again, the dialog box is going to keep track of what we're doing. So I'm going to stretch this dialog box out so we can see how many we've selected. Okay, so I'm going to click here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more of them. So we have a total of 9. Let's go ahead and do an OK here. So it takes a second, but now in the browser you can see we have 11 bodies. So let's see if we start hiding these. Where is our main body? Okay, body 10 turned out to be our main body. Let me turn the sketches off by toggling off the master. And we can see that we've got all of these separate bodies. If I click on each one of them, you'll see over in the browser a different body getting highlighted. So I wouldn't necessarily go in and name all of these. You can if you want. But I think the one that I would name is this one. So we know the big top, and maybe we want to know where the rosette is. So I'll click on that, and that's the one that's underlined here. So I'll slow double click on that, and name that rosette, and the rest of them are bindings. Okay. So looking at our, if we go back into the master and look at our canvas and turn these other bodies off, and let's see, turn our sketches off, you can see we've got a pattern of white, black, white, and the same thing is going on here around the sound hole. So let's turn our canvas off. At this point we can hide our master, collapse that down, turn our body back on. Actually, we probably don't need the body, so I'll hide that, but we definitely do want the top. Okay, so let's go to appearance. So I'm going to type in A for appearance, and then I'm going to search on plastic, and let's see what we get. So here's a white ABS plastic. I think that'll be fine. I'm just going to drag this up here and then see what we have. We have a black nylon. That should be fine too. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this white, and let me zoom in a little bit and make this easier on ourselves. I'm going to drag this white to the outer body here, then drag black. Oops. Let me undo that. Go back into appearance by pressing A. Drag the black over this body right here. having a little difficulty here, so I'm going to get into a top view, which I think will aid me. I'm going to do an undo. So we've got our white on the outside. A for appearance. Let's get our black again. Okay, that was successful that time. White. And the white is kind of looking like cream to me, so I think we're going to end up editing that. But let's go ahead and fill all these bindings in first. So again, we're going to start white here. I'm not going to do that until I zoom in a whole bunch. Okay, so there's white. Try to do this a little faster. Black there. White. We'll leave the rosette blank for now. And then we're going to do white, black, and white again. Okay, so now that white kind of looks more like cream than white to me. So, you know, we could search for another plastic that looks a little better, or we can right click on this and go to edit. And let's see, the screen that I want to show you just went on my other monitor. Let me try moving this over here and doing an edit. Okay, there it is. All right, so we can whiten that white up by going all the way to the upper right corner and click on done. So that looks marginally better to me. Okay, so now let's go ahead and set this rosette wood, which I think is maple. So I'm going to do a search here on maple. So let me try that again. A for appearance. And I'm going to type in maple. And then I pressed enter, which got me out of appearance on the previous try. So anyway, there's a bunch of 3D maples here. You do want to use the 3D appearances. Here's an unfinished one, which is fine. If you do see a little down arrow here, that just means that the appearance is not local on your system yet, and you just click to download it. So this one is available on my system, so I'm just going to drag this over to the rosette and do a close. Okay. So next I want to change this wood right here, and I've got a default appearance on my system set up to be ash. And I did search for a spruce, and there isn't one. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use mahogany, which has a nice grain pattern. To me, sort of looks like spruce, but it's obviously the wrong color. So I'm going to right click on mahogany and do a duplicate, and then right click again on it and do an edit. And then we're eventually going to end up with something dark here, but let's go ahead and call this black stained spruce. Okay. And now I'm just going to drag this onto my top. So that looks pretty good, but it's probably not dark enough to match you know, the Acoustasonic that I have. So I'm going to right click and edit and just drag this color down here a little bit, and that looks pretty good right there. Okay, so let me close up appearance, and let's turn our guitar body back on. Now, this mahogany for the body is quite a bit darker than what I have on my guitar. So I'm going to hit A for appearance, and we're going to go into that mahogany, edit, and I want something that's a little bit oranger. So now I can see over here on the screen what it's going to look like. So let me drag this out, and that looks pretty good right there. So I'll get out of appearance. And the last thing I'm going to do here is to change the texture pattern of this wood. So if I right click on this and I go up to texture map, I'm going to use the down arrow here, and you see I'm kind of repositioning this wood as to where it was cut in this log. And if I get more towards the outer part away from the pith, you can see I'm getting stuff that's a little bit more parallel, a little bit more quarter sawn. So that certainly looks better. So I'll do an OK there. So let's take a quick look at our canvas. And I'd say that's pretty close in color. So I'm pretty happy with that. And that's as far as we're going to go in this video. Let me turn the canvas off. And in the next video, we're going to make this mahogany sound port and figure out, the dimensions of that and how that's attached to the acoustic top. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more of these, press the subscribe button and the bell notification and give it a thumbs up. But most importantly, leave comments, questions, comments. I'd love to hear from you. So I will see you soon.